You again. The receptionist didn't even look up at first. Dana Whitmore kept typing while Elena Morales gripped the hospital counter hard enough for her knuckles to shake white. I called my specialist, Elena said quietly. He told me to come in right away. Dana finally glanced up unimpressed. Chest pain, dizziness, weak legs, same story every month. Several people in the packed waiting room turned toward them. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Elena swayed slightly. I can't feel my legs properly. And teenagers also say they have brain tumors after watching videos online, Dana replied loudly. You are not an emergency. A few uncomfortable murmurs spread through the lobby. Elena slid a folded paper across the counter with trembling fingers. These are my lab. Dana pushed the papers back without reading them. You need to stop faking episodes every time you want attention. The words hit harder than the pain in Elena's chest. Behind Dana, a younger receptionist suddenly froze while staring at the computer screen. A red notification flashed across Elena's chart. Dana, she whispered carefully, there's a priority. Dana clicked the warning closed before anyone else could see it. Non-urgent, she said flatly. Then she shoved Elena's insurance card back across the desk. If you're not actively dying, you can wait like everybody else. Elena stared at the card for a second before slowly picking it up. Around her, people watched with that uncomfortable look strangers get when they know something unfair is happening but don't want to get involved. One older woman near the chairs frowned. Honey, she looks pale. Dana sighed dramatically. Security will escort her out if she keeps blocking the desk. Elena opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, then stopped. Because arguing never worked anymore. She slowly lowered herself against the wall beside the reception area, clutching a thick folder filled with test results nobody ever seemed to read. Her breathing turned shallow. Purple bruises darkened both arms beneath the sleeves of her hoodie. Her phone vibrated again. Dr. KLLER calling. Missed call again. Dana ignored another alert flashing across the computer monitor. The younger receptionist looked increasingly nervous. Shouldn't someone at least triage her? Dana leaned closer and muttered, We are overloaded already. I'm not admitting another chronic faker during inspection week. Elena heard that, but she said nothing. The room started blurring around the edges. The overhead lights felt too bright. Conversations melted into distant noise as numbness crawled higher up her legs. 2 security guards started walking toward her. Then the hospital entrance doors slammed open. A man in a white coat rushed inside, carrying printed files in one hand. He scanned the waiting room once, and his expression changed instantly. WHO, he shouted, storming toward reception, cleared this girl to sit in the waiting room. Dr. Marcus Keller crossed the lobby, so fast one of the security guards stepped aside automatically. Elena. He dropped to one knee in front of her. Up close, the swelling in her hands looked worse than it had during her appointment 3 days earlier. Her fingertips had turned pale blue. When did you get here? He asked. Elena blinked slowly. Almost 2 hours ago. Dr. Keller looked up sharply. Dana forced a quick smile from behind the desk. Doctor, we were actually in the middle of processing her. No, you were. The entire waiting room had gone quiet. Elena tried pushing herself upright against the wall, but her arm shook violently. Dr. Keller caught her before she lost balance completely. Easy, he said. I'm okay. You're not okay. He glanced around. Where's your mother? At work, Elena whispered. She couldn't leave again. That answer seemed to hit him harder than anything else. Because this wasn't new. Over the past year, Elena had missed weeks of school. Teachers accused her of exaggerating to avoid class. Students joked she used hospital visits for attention. Twice, emergency rooms sent her home with anxiety medication before anyone ordered proper testing. And every single time, Elena stopped defending herself a little more. Dr. Keller stood and turned toward the reception desk. I sent an emergency admission order this morning, he said. Why wasn't it followed? Dana folded her arms. Nothing urgent appeared on our system. Behind her, the younger receptionist looked down immediately. Dr. Keller noticed. So you're saying the alert never appeared? Nobody answered. Elena suddenly coughed hard into her sleeve. Her breathing caught halfway through the inhale. Dr. Keller turned instantly. Wheelchair now. One of the nurses nearby hurried off. Dana stepped forward. Doctor, admission still has procedures. There's no room assignment yet. Dr. Keller stared at her like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Elena tried to calm the situation herself. It's okay, she whispered weakly. I can wait. Dr. Keller's expression hardened. If she waits longer, he said slowly, she could lose kidney function permanently. That sentence landed across the room like a shockwave. A man near the vending machines lowered his phone. The younger receptionist swallowed hard, then finally spoke without looking at Dana. Actually, she said quietly, voice trembling, the warning did pop up. The waiting room fell completely silent. Dana turned toward the younger receptionist, so fast her chair rolled backward. You're confused, Dana snapped. You barely even looked at the chart. I saw the alert, the girl said quietly. It was marked priority review. Several patients exchanged looks immediately. One man near the entrance muttered, then why was she sitting on the floor? Another patient had already started recording with their phone. Dr. Keller stepped toward the reception desk. Pull up her intake file, right now. Dana's jaw tightened. You don't get to demand internal access in the lobby. I'm her specialist. I sent the admission order myself. Elena was lifted carefully into a wheelchair nearby, but she bent forward suddenly, gripping her stomach. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. Hey, breathe slowly, the nurse beside her said. Elena nodded weakly, but numbness had spread farther up her legs now. When she coughed again, small drops of blood stained the sleeve covering her mouth. That changed the mood instantly. The older woman from earlier stood up. That girl is seriously sick. Dana looked around at the growing attention and lowered her voice. We've been under pressure all week to reduce unnecessary emergency admissions before state review. We cannot panic every time a chronic patient checks in. You changed her triage category. The younger receptionist blurted out. Dana froze. You switched it from urgent review to standard wait. Now everyone was staring openly. Dr. Keller's face darkened. You overrode a physician emergency order. I made a judgment call, Dana shot back. She comes in constantly. At that moment, a hospital administrator hurried into the lobby. What is going on here? Dr. Keller pointed directly at the desk. I want the access logs and security footage preserved immediately. The administrator's expression shifted the second he saw Elena coughing into shaking hands. The nurse wheeled Elena toward the elevators, but she suddenly cried out softly, clutching her side hard enough to nearly slide from the chair. Dr. Keller opened the printed lab report in front of the administrator. His eyes moved down the page, and all color drained from his face. She wasn't supposed to be walking in here today at all. By the time Elena reached the ICU assessment floor, the hallway outside her room had turned chaotic. Nurses moved rapidly between machines and medication carts, while doctors prepared emergency scans. Elena lay motionless beneath bright overhead lights as oxygen tubing rested beneath her nose. Blood pressure dropping again, a nurse warned. Dr. Keller stood beside two hospital administrators, holding Elena's updated lab reports. This is aggressive autoimmune vasculitis, he said. It's attacking multiple organs simultaneously. One administrator frowned. How advanced? Dr. Keller looked toward Elena's room before answering. Advanced enough that I personally filed an emergency admission order at 6:30 this morning. The room went quiet. A member of risk management arrived carrying printed computer logs. We confirmed the alert reached reception. She handed over the paperwork. Time-stamped entries showed the notification appearing on Dana Whitmore's screen, then being manually downgraded minutes later. Downstairs, Dana's voice echoed from the hallway as she argued with another supervisor. She looked stable, Dana insisted. "You can't admit every repeat patient who complains about pain." A nearby nurse spoke up carefully. "You also said frequent patients were hurting emergency statistics." Dana turned sharply. "That's not what I meant." Before anyone could answer, the elevator doors opened again. Elena. Her mother rushed down the hall, still wearing her grocery store uniform, panic written across her face. She stopped cold the second she saw oxygen support attached to her daughter. "Oh my God." Elena turned weakly toward her. "Mom." Her mother grabbed her hand immediately. "Why didn't they call me sooner?" Dr. Keller's expression tightened, but he didn't answer. "Because they had called." Repeatedly. Inside the room, two doctors discussed treatment options in lowered voices. "If kidney function drops further, we may need dialysis support." Elena heard that. Her mother heard it too. Across the hall, the younger receptionist sat crying while speaking to investigators. "She told us not to question her decisions," she admitted. "She controlled schedules. If we pushed back, our hours got cut." Everything started connecting at once. The ignored alerts. The blocked admission. The forced waiting. The fake calmness at the desk, while Elena's condition worsened by the minute. Then Dr. Keller stepped out of Elena's room and faced administration directly. "Another hour," he said, voice cold with anger, "and she might not have survived the night." Down the hallway, Dana looked up and saw two hospital security officers walking straight toward her desk. The entire emergency lobby watched as security stopped in front of Dana Whitmore's desk. One officer spoke quietly. "Ms. Whitmore, administration needs you to come with us." Dana looked around in disbelief. "You're seriously doing this right now?" Nobody answered. Patients who had witnessed the confrontation earlier stared openly as she gathered her things with shaking hands. The younger receptionist sat off to the side, wiping tears from her face, while investigators copied computer logs from the reception system. Within the hour, hospital administration placed Dana on immediate suspension pending investigation. And the deeper they looked, the worse it became. Dr. Keller's emergency admission order had been marked high priority. The alert had appeared multiple times on Dana's screen. Security footage showed her closing the notification manually before changing Elena's status from urgent review to standard wait. All of it was time-stamped. Every click. Every ignored warning. Every minute Elena spent untreated downstairs. Dana eventually admitted she believed Elena was exaggerating because of her age, her history of repeat visits, and the pressure staff were under during state inspection week. But by then, nobody cared about the explanation anymore. Not after seeing the scans. Not after hearing how close Elena came to organ failure. Upstairs, Elena's mother sat beside her hospital bed, gripping her daughter's hand tightly. "They said you were waiting normally," she whispered shakily. "They told me it wasn't serious." Elena stared at the blanket over her legs for a moment before answering. "I stopped trying to convince people a long time ago." Her mother's face crumpled instantly. Dr. Keller stood near the doorway, exhausted after hours of emergency treatment. "You were right to come in," he told Elena gently. "You trusted yourself when everyone else doubted you." Over the next several days, doctors started aggressive treatment to stop the autoimmune attack spreading through her body. Her condition stabilized enough to avoid permanent dialysis, though specialists warned the delay had caused damage that could have been prevented. Meanwhile, the fallout inside the hospital kept growing. Multiple staff members filed complaints against Dana. The younger receptionist fully cooperated with investigators and provided statements about previous incidents where patient concerns had been dismissed to reduce emergency admission numbers. Hospital leadership faced scrutiny over intake procedures after several patients uploaded videos from the lobby online. Public outrage spread quickly once people realized a visibly ill 16-year-old had been accused of faking symptoms, while emergency alerts flashed across the reception computer. The same waiting room where Elena had been humiliated became evidence in the investigation. Within weeks, the hospital announced major policy changes. Physician emergency alerts could no longer be overridden by reception supervisors without direct review from medical staff. At school, administrators finally received documentation explaining the severity of Alina's condition. Teachers who once questioned her absences suddenly changed their tone. But something in Alina had changed too. She no longer felt desperate to prove her pain to people determined not to believe it. Several weeks later, Alina returned to the hospital for follow-up treatment. This time, the staff recognized her immediately. The younger receptionist approached nervously near the elevators. "I should have spoken up sooner," she admitted. Alina looked at her for a second, then nodded once. "You spoke when it mattered." Later that afternoon, Alina sat across from Dr. Keller, reviewing long-term treatment plans she almost never got the chance to receive. Alive because someone finally listened before it was too late. The day they called her a faker became the day the entire hospital had to answer for it.